Good morning, everybody.
Morning,
Thank you for being here. I'm Ford Spalding, Chair of the FS1 Steering Committee. And pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, amended on March 28, 2025, Governor Maura Healey signed into law an act extending pandemic-related authorizations related to public meetings, allowing remote meeting options for public bodies through June 30, 2027. Today is March 16th, 2026. The FS1 Steering Committee meeting will be conducted in both in-person and via remote participation by the committee. The chair grants permission to Allison McCarthy to record the meeting and to anyone else who wishes to record the meeting. If you wish to be so, please identify yourself by your name and address. Hearing none, we'll do a member roll call. Jody Petroselli.
Here.
Dan Ayers. Yep. Peter Bean. He is coming. Sarah Cantley.
Here.
John Cummings.
Here.
Harry Davis.
Here.
Paul DeLay.
Here.
And I, Ford Spalding, am here. Thank you. Public and press. The Select Board has updated the policy related to this subject, and it is on the town website for your review. In accordance with that policy, we will allow up to 3 minutes for public comments. I will allow for the committee members or staff, if appropriate, to briefly respond. This is not a time for discussion. We will allow 15 minutes total for this agenda item. So if there's anybody in the room that would like to make a public comment, please give me your name and address. Hearing none, is there anybody participating remotely? Seeing none, thank you. I'm going to do the chair's update. As some of you may be aware, Nancy James has resigned from the committee. I will miss her at our meetings. Nancy's passion for finding a solution to get to yes for FS1 was incredible. She's brought to us a strong work ethic, knowledge of our community, and willingness to advocate for what she believed was right. In closing, on behalf of the committee, thank you, Nancy, for the time that you spent with us. To the committee and staff, thank you for adjusting your schedules to include this additional meeting for the purpose of having the first of 2 working sessions related to the site metrics to add additional considerations presented at the October 7, 2025 Select Board Community Forum. The purpose of this evaluation is to review and address the evaluation process. On March 23, the committee members will present their ratings that they individually completed in between these 2 meetings. And we will have a discussion and completion of the draft of the site matrix. I just want to reiterate, because I actually heard yesterday something that I had to correct the person on, a very good friend who we had lunch with. This committee has not selected a site for FS1 at this point in the process. What we have done is recommended to the Select Board 3 possible sites for town meeting approval, for approved funding to determine which site is the most advantageous to develop for FS1. What that determined means is, can the site be built on, and what are the existing restrictions? Where on the site should FS1 reside that has the most benefit to meet programmatic needs for the department? It must have direct access to High Street and a positive location to meet response times criteria. The site needs to allow us to work with neighbors to alleviate some of their concerns. Finally, it must be the most cost-effective result for our taxpayers. The Select Board's warrant article requests for funding $325,000 to pay for a feasibility study and schematic design, which will be based on all three sites. That information will allow us to finalize one site from the matrix for its recommendation to the select board for construction of FS1. I hope that's clear. Everybody agrees?
Yeah. Can I make a comment?
Of course you can.
So over the last couple of days, I have spoken to a few people myself, and what you just echoed about your friend and your lunch and stuff, they feel that this committee is leaning towards one site and not looking at anything other. And I tried to tell him that that's not true, that we are wide open, we have not chosen anything, and it's a process. So I just want to make sure as a group that when we're out there talking to the folks that we get that message across.
Let me echo on that.
I agree with that.
You know, Westwood has a fantastic GIS mapping system. I went through all the properties or all the single properties up and down 109, and nothing else fits the criteria. I mean, if someone wants to sell us 2 properties, that might be something to look at. But there is no single property that we could take by or do what we needed to do to put in a fire station.
But
When
that's
you
part
say
of,
nothing else, you mean beyond what we've already
From
looked at? Yeah.
yes,
well, we're going to discuss that in a minute because I also walked from the townhouse down to Dunkin' Donuts and back. And it was kind of fun for me because I got to explore the town and I saw a lot of interesting things. But, you know, we'll be talking about that. So our first agenda item is to review our site matrix process and evaluation. And Molly, I'm asking you to lead that discussion.
So we're gonna go through the matrix again with the properties that we didn't review in early February. Wanting to reiterate that this is a living document, that it's a changing document. For the purposes of today's meeting, we're going to be using the same criteria that we used for the other 3 that we've reviewed. That's not to say we may change a section later down the line and change the review, but for this purposes, we're going to go through all 5 of these. My thought for ease of what property are we on, what line are we on, we're going to do 1 column the whole way down, and then we'll move to the next one. All right, so we're going to start with renovating existing fire station 1. And the first criteria is direct access to High Street, which I think we can all agree it has direct access to High Street.
So wait a minute, but aren't we going to be submitting our individual rankings?
Yes, you know, all we're trying to do is get the matrix the way we want it.
What does that mean?
Well, I, for example, have one example. We go down and we talk about, and there's been some discussion about it, commercial opportunities, expansion. And I think that's not the correct word that we should be using, because what we were thinking about is a property that could be used that might be able to have some assets around it that will be able to be bought by other entities, which will help defray the costs of obtaining that access.
My sort of answer to the question would be, we asked everybody to review individually so that when we come, we can have a constructive conversation. So it's like, you may have said 4 on something, but you hear
Right.
John say something and he's like, oh, maybe that is a 2. And so the idea is to come to a consensus.
But procedurally, do you want us to submit our matrix prior to the March 23rd meeting by a specific date?
I don't think you need to.
No, I think just come with your matrix filled out, and then we'll compile that and have a discussion. And that may change your thinking or our thinking or whatever.
Will you send out a clean matrix?
So I had sent out, our board had sent out last week, the one that was clean except for the
Okay.
3 that we had sent out. Yeah, just a link.
Just one technical thing, I don't think you could edit that, or I couldn't edit it, like I could, so if you can just
Yeah, we can send
give
it
us
out.
permission, whatever.
So is the point, just to kind of come back to, so is the point today to make sure we have the criteria that we accurate that we want to rate on?
My understanding was we were going through the matrix today, not the criteria. We're leaving the criteria alone for later in the way. It's just to go through each of the items for each of the different properties.
And then again next week.
Yeah, I
Sounds
didn't
like
hear
that's
this.
what
I
we're
didn't hear
doing
the again next week. That's news.
Well, the criteria, but this is the one that sort of sticks out. And we're not looking at commercial expansion necessarily. We're thinking about how can we help defer the cost of getting a piece of property? And is that site conducive to that?
I think right now you're a little in the weeds of one particular column. So what is your purpose of this meeting? Ignoring that one.
I thought it was going through the matrix.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get at.
But not filling it out. We're just talking about what we're gonna have on the matrix.
Okay, then that is different than how I was anticipating, so that's totally fine. So we want to go through each different item and determine
Does that make
how we want to
sense?
It
change.
does, yeah,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
we're trying to make, the whole point of this is completing it individually, bringing this back to the group.
That's right.
This idea or potentially like talk about it.
Jody?
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say that, I think Ford's idea is a good idea. We should start by making sure we all understand as a committee and are on the same page as to what we're evaluating for each criteria. That may not take very long. And then, we could talk about other things if we want. But if we know exactly what it is we're evaluating and what the column is meant to be, then I think filling out the matrix and discussing it once we filled it out will be a much smoother process.
So, given that, I'm gonna go back to, as you look at the matrix, is down here, it says commercial expansion. It's about 3/4 of the way down. I don't think that's an accurate thing of what we were thinking about. I think we were thinking about, if I took a piece of land and adjacent to that land, and the land may be bigger than we needed for the exit and entrance. There may be adjacent properties that would like to expand, like they might want to expand parking or move their fence on their property or whatever. And they could be allowed to do that, but they're going to have to purchase it from the town. And I'm thinking this is a way of helping to defer the cost of us having to purchase land.
It is.
And I'm not being clear on what it should say, but
So I think it's worth kind of double clicking on this because this has been flagged a couple times by some people like, oh, is commercial expansion in the scope of this committee? And it's absolutely not.
correct.
And so the idea is just like, I agree. I think Molly, you said this. It's like, it's probably difficult to have the conversation without highlighting it as a potential benefit.
Mhm.
But I think it kind of stops there. Like, I don't know, that may be a benefit down the road. But any type of like prolonged conversation about like, well, how does this commercially help the town? I think gets us off scope and opens up like a whole
Yeah,
different
yeah.
discussion.
I agree.
Red focus.
Yeah, for lack of a
Our
better
main
term.
focus is advice.
So I think if we're talking about expansion of commercial base, again, it's like, it could, the criteria should be broad at best. Like, yeah, it could help down the road, but again, the conversation kind of ends there, at least from my perspective.
I have another question.
Go.
I think Harry raises an interesting point, and it's a good point. We have a bunch of criteria on this matrix that we're looking at, and we're just giving them a flat score, 1 through 5, but they don't all necessarily carry the same weight. Some things are much more significant and important than other things. So, we might end up in a position where a 2 on one thing is still just as advantageous as a 3 on something else because of the significance of the category. I think at some point we need to come up with a way to factor that into the evaluation. I don't have an answer, but I think it's a good point. Every item in the criteria doesn't carry the same significance.
Taking me back to
I agree.
master's, like graduate school statistics.
Right.
What you could do is you could rank all of the different rows importance of 1, 2, and 3, and then that would be a multiplier. So if it was the most important, it's a 3 times whatever the number you give it equals what the weight of it is. So should we go through the list and determine what we think is the most important and what should get more weight?
Sure.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
that's a good plan.
Direct access to High Street.
Consider.
Is 3 most important?
3 is most
Three
important. Highest one, yeah.
So everybody hears it's a 3. That's what we're saying is it's a 3.
Agree.
Okay.
Town meeting required acquisition approval, subject to the purchase of properties before design funding.
3.
I think I might say that's a 2. I mean, it's something we have to consider, but if the best site is something that needs acquisition property is, maybe I'm not understanding what that means, but that's something that's doable. It's not, just because something needs acquisition doesn't make it substantially better or worse than something else. It's just something else that has to be done. So it's something to be considered, but not, an ultimate, like, maybe I'm not understanding what that means.
I'm kind of with Jody. on
I am
that,
too,
yeah,
actually.
because it's not like a law of nature that we're dealing with there. It's not like High Street is where High Street is, and we can't move that. It's something that can be massaged as we go along. So.
So do we make it a 2?
I'm in agreement too.
I also changed the wording of that to just saying requires town meeting approval for property or design funding, just to smooth that out.
Because we're gonna have town meetings, man. Anyway.
We're gonna have a variety.
Yeah.
Total cost to the town, we had hold on all 3 of these properties that we evaluated before because it's just something we don't know yet. And so it might be worth just continuing. I mean, it's gonna be incredibly important eventually.
Well, but we're not gonna know that until after the town meeting approves the study. And once the study comes in, then we're gonna have a better idea of the cost. So I think
Will these
it's a whole-
feasibility studies give us ballpark figures? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, I think that fundamentally alters the conversation for a lot of residents.
But do we put a number on that? Like it'd be a 3?
Yeah,
Obviously.
again, because
Yeah.
if 3 options
That
back
way,
and someone's like,
I think, because again, this is in process and it's not gonna be done until we finally have one to recommend.
Mhm.
So, that's, and the other thing, that this is purely a draft we're working,
Okay, so 3,
Okay.
oh, then
3. All right?
ability to accommodate frontline apparatus, C3E5, L1, A1, A2 school.
reading ahead a little bit, are we essentially, so that's describing programmatic needs, right? And number 7 is ability to meet programmatic needs. So is there a way to combine those 6 and 7 perhaps? Is there a reason they're 2 different
I
ones?
believe it was said as 2 separate ones, so it's the ability to have frontline apparatus refers to the base, right? And programmatic needs refers to other things like training
Training
space.
space.
And so I think it is 2 different things.
Yeah.
But I think it's a 3.
I agree. I think it's a 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the response times, programmatic needs. We gotta have it, be able to get out the door. So
Is this something we could ask the chief and Bob to get the perspective?
Come on over here, my buddy. I saved you.
we got 2 chairs up here, Colin. You can come up here too.
Summit. How? It's the ability to accommodate frontline apparatus.
It's extremely important,
Yes.
but it's also been the biggest topic of conversation.
So this is, in other words, this is the 5th pay.
So, yeah, it's extremely important. I know that this is the issue that probably sunk us.
Jody, you have your hand up.
Yes. Oh, that's from last time. I didn't put it down,
Then
but
you gotta take it down. You can't just keep it there.
I'm sorry. But now that I interrupted you, I agree with what the chief is saying that, that's the issue. I think it might be helpful, and not to do it today, but I think it might be helpful at some point in time, we could get a really clear understanding from the chief specific as to how specifically the fire department's day-to-day functioning would change if they didn't have that bay. Because, yes, we all keep getting asked the question, why do you need this? Why do you need this? We need it. But what exactly would happen if we didn't have that? How would it change? Where would equipment have to be moved? Where would people have to be moved? I think it's important if we're expecting the town to understand why this is a need, we need to explain why it's a need.
You'd have what we have before we had to shut down the station. And our thought in building a new station was to improve our operations. So it's really what we're doing now, if you don't have the 5th bed.
We have apparatus behind apparatus and everything, everybody carrying over equipment that's in between the apparatus.
It's what we do today. But
I just want you to put in words from you, not me. I mean, we did all the tours, and one of the issues was people are climbing over equipment to get in between the trucks. And all the trucks aren't facing out, some are behind others where you.
well, currently, right now, the squad is at Station 2.
Right, so let's go back to January.
No, it's always
No,
been
always,
at
always.
All right.
Station 2, because we don't have room for it at Station 1. That was the reason for the 5th bay. Our staffing model has more people at Station 1. So if the first engine was out, the ambulance was out, you'd have someone to actually take the school out. If engine 2 is out, you have no one to take the school out. That's the difference.
I just think optimally, we want to be able to have what this is saying. I think it should be a 3 because that's optimally what we want.
So
That's our goal. If we can't get to our
It's
goal,
waiting. No, it's
We're gonna
the-
wait.
how important.
so if we can't get to our goal, that's one thing. But I think that's what we want. We want to
Yes.
be able to, them to have that. So I think it's a 3.
So two things can be true at the same time. It's a major point of contention, but it's still
still
extremely, it doesn't change the fact that it's extremely important.
Correct.
So it just lends credence to other locations.
3?
Ability to meet programmatic needs for training space.
That's gonna be a 3. I mean,
Well,
they do,
They do training though off-site now too, right?
Some site,
Some,
chief, you're
right,
gonna.
yeah.
We use the police station and the library.
And so I would say compared to, programmatic life and death needs, that is lower than that.
Well, I don't know, because if you look at training, if they're doing ice training, then they're not gonna do that at the station.
Of course, yeah.
And they do that. But by and large, training is keeping the men and the women so they totally know what to do when they go into a situation. They never totally, but so they know what to do when they go in a situation. So if you're all of a sudden learning how to take a hose upstairs, they should have that facility.
And I know it's nice to have it on site because the bell can ring at any time and you gotta go.
Correct.
So that's one of the issues. If they were at the police station doing the training, then that would
So
work.
This is where we got into
The medical training that they have to do. I mean, makes it a 3 right there.
that's so, and their training is every single day.
1,500 hours a year, divide that, it comes out to about 30 hours a week.
I think it should be a 3.
I get 3.
Okay?
The thought kind of escaped me at the moment. This is what you were saying, where if you go off-site, now you're bringing the trucks that run outside.
So like not having the 5th bay,
library's
if
not
we
right.
just take the engine, then we need the ladder. We don't have it.
Right.
We go back, get it, and then leave.
Got it.
Same.
Can we confirm that's Peter Bean?
But say what?
Can we
Peter.
confirm that's Peter?
Peter, are you on?
I'm on, thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Well,
Sorry for the delay.
Thank you.
maintenance.
Maintenance bay.
Gotta have it. Can't have it tucked down.
There are 2 alternatives to maintenance bay. If you have it, you can take care of the vehicle right there. It's gonna cost less to do it. It's gonna be much quicker. If you have to send it out, it costs more. It's gone for a much longer period of time. And I know that because I've seen that from experience. So having it there is invaluable in terms of cost to the town, getting the vehicle online quicker. So
Chief,
I'm going to throw it out. I'm not telling you all what to do, but I think it should be a 3. I think it's a great thing to have.
in the interest of just hearing some of the feedback from the town, remind us again the challenge with having it in town but somewhere else, like right here.
That was what my
Does that-
question was. I've been
does that
hearing
come
that
up
it
with
sounds,
design recognition?
but it be located somewhere else in town where we're still servicing our own vehicles, but not necessarily
Yeah,
at
like-
the station.
Comes down to cost. Well, you can have operation. Yeah, I'm sure there's operational issues to it too. Building a standalone maintenance bay is gonna cost millions of dollars, right? It's a
In
big-
addition to.
Right?
Yeah.
And so as a part of an existing building tying into their electrical, their plumbing, the HVAC, it's a smaller cost than building a standalone place over here. And I'm not even sure where you would put it over here, but you could speak operation.
Yeah, an operation of sharing with someone else, what's more important, right? Is there a fire truck? Well, what if there's a dump truck in there in DPW with its motor pulled and my ladder goes down?
Yeah.
That's the issue, scheduling and all of that. We do a lot of work on the trucks. He's there 24 hours a week and he's working 24 hours a week. There's always something that needs to be done. So, sharing is not optimal.
Is it possible? It's not optimal, but is it possible?
Anything possible. I would not be in favor of it.
I mean, you could send the truck out and not do it there, but I tell you, that takes a lot more time than scheduling and it's much more expensive. So for the town's point of view, operationally, it's less expensive. For the department's point of view, it gets the vehicle online quicker.
But if we only had a finite amount of space, depending on what we decide, what we come up with, if it was a choice between a decontamination zone and a mechanic zone, we go with the decontamination.
I think it goes back to what Harry had said about two things can be true at the same time. Whereas if we're doing this matrix as how do we improve, or in this case, sustain, because they already have a maintenance phase, I think it is a 3. But then going further down the line, when you have more of these conversations of if you have to cut a bay, is it the maintenance bay or the bay?
Right.
But I think for the purposes of this exercise is how important is maintenance pay to the department? It's pretty important.
That's very well said, because, you know, if it comes down that we do have a site and we have to cut, then we have to rate what item do we cut? And I always say, we're cutting a programmatic need and people need to understand that who are out there. When I went to that October meeting, people said, well, just reduce the size. Well, you didn't just reduce the size.
There are some things we just don't have any discretion. We don't have any discretion over the decontamination like that.
Correct.
That's not.
So this is a 3.
I'm not 3.
Requires moving of curtain. Oh my god. Requires moving of current use, and I'm gonna change that to operations.
And the fact that we're already displaced, I think that'll.
Yeah.
I think, can't we eliminate that? I mean, I think that was based on.
Yes and no. You could. I would hesitate to do so if you were going to build off-site. You could continue to use circus tent that's being installed and people living in FS1 for a period of time versus if you were going to rebuild at the existing site, you'd have to move the circus tent and find housing. So I think it is still in the cards because we don't know where the project will land.
Okay, then I think we should rename it to something like relocating temporary fire department.
Yep. Requires a temporary fire.
And I would rate that as a 1.
I agree. Okay.
Are we in agreement with Jody?
Requires acquisition of properties. I'm not sure how this is different than requires town meeting approval for properties.
Yeah,
I agree.
So I would say let's
Scrap it.
scrap that one.
okay.
Requires change in zoning bylaw. None of these required a change in zoning bylaw.
Which one did
none
we
of them-
I'm sorry, Molly, which one did we cross off? It's acquiring properties or the first?
10 requires acquisition.
Acquisition.
Okay. And what did we decide for the one above it?
Requires temporary fire operations was 1.
Thank you. All right, I'm sorry.
Requires change to zoning bylaw. None of the 3 that we reviewed required a change to zoning bylaw. I'd have to look at the other ones, but.
Well, we don't know, for example, the one is finding a property along
Right.
High Street. We don't have that property yet, but that could require a
Yeah.
zoning bylaw.
So how important is the change?
Good.
Reference.
Mike,
Buddy?
Speak from here.
No, you.
Fire away.
well, we want to see you.
Step in.
The fire station is a use that can go anywhere. There doesn't need to be a change to the zoning for the use of the fire station to be put on any property, any parcel that is zoned commercial, residential, highway business, whatever. You can put a fire station up.
So there's.
Yeah, if you're just talking about the fire station use itself, that can go anywhere, no question.
Okay, so we can cross that off.
Just skip it.
This is great.
Well, no, because some sites have the potential to requiring the building to not meet the zoning setbacks, which would be different than zone for the fire station, right?
That's the next one, Jody.
Oh, okay.
Requires building variances. Is the way we want to put on that.
I think a 1. I mean, the point that is significant to me is for most of the towns in the states, this isn't an issue because fire safety buildings like fire stations are automatically allowed to build without getting zoning variances. We just happen to never have enacted that in Westwood. I mean, I think if we need them, we can get them.
I need help.
Well, she's right. If you need them, you can get them. I think where the conversation around this comes along is that the previous proposal required seven variances, which then can be appealed to a lawsuit and then creates a hiccup in the project.
Is there a way for us to ask the select board to enact whatever it is all the other towns in Massachusetts are doing?
Well, we could, but let's look for a number on this one.
Yeah.
It would require.
Here we go. Here we go.
It would require 2/3.
Yeah, so that would be, the only way to do that is, it's not through select board, it's through town meeting, it would be a 2/3 vote of town meeting, approving the change to the zoning.
I meant they have to put it on the warrant article.
Oh, I thought you meant as far as.
No, they don't have to.
No. Okay.
Town.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can ask, it was on last year's, and then rescinded after the fact. But again, to Molly's point, if you're going, and again, like Jody, like you said, you need variances, you can get them from the zoning board of appeals, but that opens up the process to public input, pushback, whatever you want to call it, through the appeals process.
And that's a delay factor.
Delay factor and or monetary, depending on what comes out.
This is fair. This is important.
Yes.
I would say for the purpose of this discussion is that it's current, how I think we need to weight it based on how it currently is. Separate and apart from that, I think this group can make any sort of recommendation to the select board if we think it would move the project along easier.
So it needs to be addressed. So therefore, I think we need to put a number on it.
Then it's a 3.
I think it's a 3.
The other, and I just want to caution, I'm not.
No, keep going.
It's difficult at best to decide, indicate, or project which properties and which projects would require variances without having a firm idea of what the building is.
Right.
It's
So it's hard for us to gauge that at this point.
Right. I mean,
It
obviously,
may be a hold.
if you have a smaller parcel, i.e. 637 High Street, obviously that required a lot more zoning relief than, if you had a 20-acre field out in the middle of nowhere. There's still the potential for certain types of variances depending on what the property is, not related to the building. Insofar as right,
So it should be a hold.
it's difficult to project. I think it's something that should be about, but it's hard to put a number on it. At least not a number, but it's hard to give it sufficient weight if you don't know. All things are not equal.
So as we get to the next step, the town meeting approves the request of the board. We go through that process. By the time we pick a property, we will know. And then
It'll be a lot easier.
And then
to
I think we
project.
put a hold on it for now.
Do we table putting the that warrant article back on, or?
I mean, I know that, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about that. All right, thank you.
Response time of the location falls within strike zone.
3.
Yeah, we have to do that.
Don't they all do that? Isn't that
Yeah.
what we limited our selection process to?
Yes.
So do we need that category?
Yes, because people suggesting other things.
I say yes. Well, the chief says yes because people are suggesting other sites outside of these properties. And so it's pointing that it is still a major are the most important factor that we're looking at here when looking at any site. So if you were gonna add an additional site to this matrix for whatever reason, it would have a 0.
Yeah.
Because of. It
It
didn't-
has to,
an
it
easy
has to
one.
be in
Yeah.
the strike zone, you know,
Yeah.
within the FS1.
And that's very objective. That's an easy one for us to all grade. This one.
Correct.
Is that any type of state mandated thing, or is that just a best practice?
Yeah.
It's in the base standards. Yeah.
But if you have a heart attack, you want them there.
I want them there as quickly as possible. yeah.
So,
The lot size is adequate for drive-through bays.
From what I understand, it's a nice to have.
Right, but not necessarily the highest level of importance.
It makes more bay possible.
So 2, maybe?
To follow up question, that I'd be shocked if this hasn't been discussed, but is there, so the one one of the knocks on the current location is that bad topography falling off the back? Yeah, I mean, I get it, it's steep to say the least. Couldn't that be regraded? You know, like some type of,
That would be.
that's a lot of money.
That was expensive.
Yeah.
That's
so like prohibitively expensive?
I would
Yeah,
say.
because you can't just put dirt, right? Like, you have to put down
Yeah,
everything to
it would
build it
be,
up.
you would have millions on millions of site work involved on just retaining walls, structural retaining walls, fill, that, all that kind of stuff. So yes, I would say it would be.
Yeah, so I was thinking, say, like, if you need like a huge retaining wall.
You
back
need,
there,
you
right?
need a
retaining walls. on-
25-foot retaining wall essentially surrounding the site. in the back.
Okay.
It would look like a castle from the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that whole side of the road,
Tourist attraction.
on my little walk, that whole side of the road is pretty much that way.
Would that reduce the height requirement? Yeah, just kidding. I'm just,
So are we at a 2 or a 3?
I think it's
I'm
two.
comfortable with 2.
15 is additional site purchase costs, which I think we've already covered.
Yep.
Twice, so I'm gonna strike that one.
Yep.
Time to completion, I think we've all agreed it's very important, but we
Yeah.
don't have the information on it. We did a
So
whole
that's a
lot
all-
of it.
yeah.
Lot restrictions, wetlands or other issues.
It's a whole,
Come from
that's
feasibility.
what we're gonna learn about.
Yeah, but can't we rate the importance of these?
Yeah.
Well, that's, we're not doing anything on it.
No, but like time to completion, how important is that in
Right.
terms of the project?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So that, I'm hearing 3.
So that's a whole,
I think very good.
what is it?
which one are we doing?
Time to
16 or
completion.
17?
Completion.
Urgent.
Urgent.
16. Completion. That's a 3.
Even though we're not marking it yet, it's gonna
Yeah,
wait.
it's gonna
for
wait.
the future, yeah.
We have 17 and 18 are lot restrictions. The first is wetlands or other issues, and then the second one is topography. Is there a reason we separated those out?
Because 2 of the lots are flat, one's not.
Okay, fair.
So we're on hold on lot restriction.
But what is the weight that you're gonna?
Wetlands issues, I mean, that's a hold,
It's a hold of, we don't know what, we don't know yet, but
correct?
when you do know, how
Oh.
important are the wetlands?
Is that a regulation issue or is that a physical
Both.
site issue?
Yes.
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean, wetlands are harder to deal with than topography, right?
Yes.
So I would say wetlands is a 3 or 2.
I would say a 3 because
I
I think
think
that's
it's
the
a
thing
3.
that you can throw a wrench. I mean, just
They can kill more.
yeah,
Yeah.
just litigation could throw a wrench.
You know, 3.
And then
Topography.
topography.
I mean, I think that's a 1 or a 2, because
Yeah, you can make topography work.
Yeah.
At a cost.
Except for the back of the.
Except for the-
Right.
Well, except for the cost. So I think that'd be a 2. Did I hear?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Right, 19 and 20 similarly are very similar. Expansion of commercial tax base and commercial expansion.
I just don't like either one of them. I think, again, what we were thinking about, and I'm not explaining it well, I don't think, is we need a drive-through. Any excess property beyond that, we might be able to sell. And it might be to a homeowner, it might be to a business. any way we can help reduce the cost of this project.
I get it, but it's all speculative.
It is speculative.
Right, and so again, going back to my original point, I like it as like a speculative potential benefit down the road. I don't like it if it is a holdup for some residents. Like, why are we talking about?
If you were to strike both 19 and 20, you could put a footnote at the end of whatever report ends up being issued to the select board that says, this was discussed at many meetings, that the selling of 637 or a different property could result in additional commercial basis that wasn't the purview of this committee, though we want you to know it's like.
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Okay.
to
I like
flag
that
with
word.
potential benefit, and I think it'll come up amongst, discussion amongst residents as, again, potentially down the road,
Yeah.
but for the purposes of what we're doing.
So we'll strike those?
Yeah.
Is there some type of general category that we could put in their place, that's more along the lines of, I don't know if this is appropriate, but like optimal use of town land. I think everything that everybody's saying is 100% valid. But the town has a limited amount of property, and I think it's valid for us to consider whatever property we choose to build the fire station on can't be used for something else. And property that is not chosen to build the fire station on can be used for something else. Maybe not commercial. I agree with that 100%. But, the use of the town-owned land for this as opposed to something else might be something we want to consider including.
I'm thinking as we get down the line and we come to a piece of land that works based on the criteria we have here, we might have other assets at that point that make it more sense based on the one we picked.
Okay.
So I think that kind of thing would come as a presentation to the select board town meeting, that, we have sort of a win-win here based on our recommendation. We might not have that, but that's sort of.
We can't decide what they're gonna do with the property.
Right.
Exactly.
They can do nothing, they can.
We don't know until we know.
And you can't do a board, and you can't, after 3 years, you can't make a board do something it could be a complete turnover in 3 years, right? Isn't
Mike, I
that the
think that
goal?
was to you. So to Mike Perkins.
That was actually to Nora.
So every board makes its own decision. No one's beholden to a prior decision. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so
So-
in 3 years, when this is coming to fruition, it could be a completely different board, and they might decide to lease out one of the other properties. Okay. So I don't think we can mandate what they're gonna do with the property.
So I think right now we leave it, take it out.
Put it on hold with a footnote.
It's a footnote.
I like your footnote.
Immediately this
And then-
meeting is recorded.
So the other part is,
It's around the
no,
spot,
we
sorry.
do have impact on town fields and recreation space, which would kind of fall into the other part of that, how we're using. So that's all, that is on here later.
Okay, so we are striking those two?
Yes,
With a footnote.
with footnote. Potential traffic disruption for pedestrians.
I think that's critical, or it's a two.
I'd say it's a 1. I mean, the fire station, it's not like they just pull out and quiet. They set the lights, the sirens are going.
Yeah.
People stop, move on, most of them move out of the way, hopefully.
So is it a one?
Most of them move out of the way.
I kind of agree, it needs to happen. I mean, it could be a disruption, but
I mean, we have to be concerned about it.
But a multiplier, I think, is a multiplier of 1.
And any site is, okay,
The space you're talking about behind the First Methodist Church and behind the gas station and Starbucks is where the high school kids and the middle school kids cut through.
yeah, we really.
But you're talking about
We
walking
should,
through the space.
we're gonna have a chance at the end of the meeting, based on the new criteria.
I'm trying to help you determine the number.
Yes.
I don't want to let me talk to the committee for a minute. I think every site, this is effective at every site. It's effective at the existing site. It's effective at any other site we pick. We have to be concerned about pedestrian traffic.
Absolutely.
So that's my argument. It's important everywhere.
So it kind of
But I
cancels
think
each
that's
other.
why we're on,
Yeah.
that's why it's included, matrix, I would think.
But
We're
I
trying
think
to wait.
that's a compelling point. Like, yeah, I mean, you have to be considerate of pedestrians at every place, but if there's more students, going through a certain area.
That's a higher
Yeah,
degree.
I think it's-
No, that's where
Which
that
we
comes
can-
That
in.
might be
We
a
can
5 when you
indicate-
rate them all,
right,
but that's just the
exactly.
multiplier.
So
Yeah.
let's pick a number for
It's gonna have the same
One.
principle, yeah.
a one.
I think.
I was gonna stretch it to a two.
I'm gonna call it a 2, given that pedestrian traffic.
Pedestrian traffic is pretty critical.
It's gonna be different depending on the location.
Between Mobile and the Run and the middle school is a tremendous amount
A lot
of
of
kids.
people, yeah, it
So-
is different.
So
But
two,
you would write that differently.
But I would write that as a 5.
Like when
When
we're
I
actually.
filled out
When
your
you're ranked,
matrix,
yeah,
but the multiplier would be a 1. So
we're just talking about. the
we're just talking about the multiplier.
right. Committee, help me. I need a
But that'd
one
be,
or a
it
two.
doesn't matter what we give, because it's gonna be the same multiplier across the board for this one, so, I mean.
Well, if you're thinking about it in terms of importance next to, for instance, being able to house all this apparatus, yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking. Like,
Yeah.
where does that fall in that?
Let's see.
I'm
Like
okay
two.
with two.
2, fine.
Two?
Two it
Okay,
is.
thank you.
Potential traffic disruption for vehicles.
It should be the
That's gonna
same,
Same.
yeah,
109 is still 109.
and we shouldn't distinguish between pedestrians and vehicles.
Well, we should, right?
What, no, I mean, they should be equally,
They're both
as
twos.
equally important.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I mean, the disruption on 109 is gonna be the disruption of 109.
Oh, yeah, we'll look at it separately, but I'm just saying, pedestrians are just as important as vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also super important to highlight here, and like, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a lot, like how much is gonna impact, traffic, how much, this is the textbook definition of feasibility study,
Correct.
right?
Mhm.
Like, so almost we're getting into like a communication discussion, highlighting the importance of this is why we need feasibility. It's like just-
I may even change those to votes because to your point, until there's some sort of traffic study, you really don't know. I mean, for the
Correct.
existing one, it's pretty clear,
Right.
right? But for other sites, you wouldn't know until you did an analysis.
When
And there-
they're close to Deerfield, it dropped tremendously.
But there will be a traffic study for all this, and I'm gonna point it out. Okay,
Existing utilities,
It's the same.
you can put in.
So-
Yeah, utilities.
well, one may have existing utilities and others might not.
Yeah, how much of the swing from a cost standpoint is that?
Some.
Probably
One.
say 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say it too.
Potential impact on town fields.
Yeah, I think it's probably, from what we know, there's only one would be fields, although another one or another 2 or 3 could have fields, depending on what comes up. A one? I don't.
It's gonna- As a coach, that's kind of important.
Politically,
No, I
that's
think fields are very
that's
important.
I agree.
Politically, you're not gonna, you try to take away all those soccer fields, people are gonna absolutely lose their mind.
No question.
So I give
But
it
you
more
would
than
not
one.
build a firehouse because somebody wants to play soccer.
What, politically, you're gonna run into a whole lot, because when my kids were playing, it was both boys and girls. Now it's almost solely the girls' field.
But we're thinking of a place to put a fire station.
Yes.
But you also
I
have to
think
think
we
of
would have to
feedback.
make sure.
And you're
Yeah,
displacing
we did on
something
Providence.
it weighs into whether the town's gonna approve.
Yep. So 2?
I'd say 2.
Two.
If you want. I mean, we could replace the fields.
Where?
Well, that's what the community places are.
We haven't had fields except for the one time at the Pine Hill. And
Okay.
25 years ago, they put them up the middle school.
As I said in the last meeting, we got 5 acres up at high school.
Can we move on?
Impact on recreation and open space.
That's
Kind
the
of the same
same.
thing, right?
I could rather too.
Possibility of combining town projects.
that's,
I love the concept,
but I think that's outside of our,
right, because
of what we're here to do.
so this goes into my idea. I think residents are hungry. This is also a very like common piece of feedback I heard. Like, why are we talking about all this stuff in piecemeal? So I love the idea of connecting the conversation more, and whatever that looks like. One of the ideas I had is like somehow making what the long-term planning committee is the long-range plan is working on connected to the firehouse. But like, to your point, I think given our scope, you can't get into like, well, we're going to also tie this in the town hall, the middle school.
You know, I got on my walk, I ran into some people and they're saying, well, why didn't we connect police and fire and all this together way back when? We weren't here. We couldn't do that. That wasn't part of our charge.
Right.
And should we have done that? In retrospect, sure. So
We did
I
build the
just,
fire station and the police station at the same time.
I just don't think it's part of our charge to
Right.
do other plan. There's a long-range planning committee that I hope is dealing with these issues.
Can we ask one of them to come in
I just wonder.
and make a
Yeah.
presentation to us, like what?
Consult with town
That's a
council.
great idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, because I think
But for right now,
We have to put it on hold. We don't have any,
it's not.
but we'd like to hear from them, I think.
so if we're gonna wait it, should we wait it or just delete it?
I think it comes up, but I think it could be similar to the commercial. It could be a footnote. That's something that we discussed
Yeah,
and considered
okay.
and talked along planning about, but it's not
Footnote?
similarly in our.
Okay.
I mean, the same way we're looking for input from residents, it would be great to get input from
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
you know, just as,
That is
they're
something that
part of
we
the
hear.
iterative process.
A lot from people in the community.
A lot.
Without Westwood, especially I think amongst the younger residents that are looking down the road and we're gonna be here in 10, 15 years saying, okay, why
Yeah.
didn't we do this 10 years ago?
I think if nothing else,
But that's not necessarily our committee.
sorry. I mean,
That's why you're.
I was gonna say, if nothing else, like starting to get rid of the negative perception that it's everyone's talking in a silo.
Yeah.
You know, like I hear what everyone's saying and understand the need to tie this along range projects. Here's what that committee is thinking of. If you're more interested, you know, sit on there, go to that. But in terms of like the scope of our work,
Yeah.
firehouse.
I would strike 27 as well, which is temporary operations expense. I think it's covered in the one that was previous up there, requires temporary fire
I
operations.
agree.
Yeah.
And so the footnote on 26 is someone's gonna come and make a presentation to them.
We're
Discussion.
requesting that they are. We are understanding that this project isn't ending in a vacuum. Our understanding is that long-range financial planning is taking on the master planning of all municipal and school facilities.
Excellent. That way everybody's
Not my
here.
head.
Quite frankly, I think that,
I really-
I'm kind of curious what's going on.
Yeah.
We'd love to know
and
something.
that does play into what we're doing.
Yes.
So, you know, and I don't know what we're doing because I have one phone.
So my plan will be to create a cleaned up version of this with some drafted footnotes and circulate it to the group later today. If you can get it, your versions back to me by Friday afternoon, that would be great. And then I can review it over the weekend. And we have something to present on our meeting
And that'll have the multipliers in there that we just discussed. Right?
with formula.
Hmm?
With formula.
Wow.
I know, whoa.
Yeah, I hope you're taking care of that.
All good.
Okay. We satisfied with this agenda item?
Yes.
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 We'll move on to the second one is Molly will present that and discussion and recommendation of the town meeting warrant article.
So it came up at this meeting, at the select board meetings last week and at FinCom, that was the town boxing itself in too closely with how the warrant is currently laid out. And I think based on all of our conversations, the three sites identified, the landlocked site behind 736-738, Deerfield site, and the existing sites are the preferred sites. They're the ones with the most amount of possibility. But what is it to say that two neighbors won the lottery, they're splitting it, and they moved to California, and they want to sell us their properties together to build a fire station? How the language is currently proposed would not allow us to spend any feasibility money on. And so my proposal is to add 6 words to the article that all the beginning of it is the same: feasibility, site analysis, traffic, and other related professional services for potential locations, including but not limited to, and then listed the 3 sites. And my idea for that is still to signal to the community, this is where we are looking. This is where we have identified that this is the most likely to succeed. but gives the town a bit of flexibility that if some unknown were to come, that we could pivot some of the dollars somewhere else if one were to fall. And one were to rise up based on all these changes that we're making to the matrix.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that?
No,
Yeah, I'll just-
this is the selectmen's article, but I think that's exactly right. When we one of you get a phone call this afternoon, if somebody wants to sell their property,
I say yes.
then
The town John
and we find out that's for real, we need to find out if that property or properties is buildable and it needs to go through the process. And I would hope that they would be calling sooner rather than later, because when we get town meeting approval in May, they'll expend the money in July, and this summer we'll be doing that. So anything we can find out before then will be extremely helpful. And if we get multiple offers of sites, then we're not going to have enough money. But
I'm not anticipating.
we are reaching out to the public, and we've sent out letters. 45 letters have gone out to the area. And I think all of our information is online, and people know that the fire department is in a very serious distressed is probably not the right word, a very serious position right now. And soon they will see a structure in front of the fire station. So if they are oblivious to what's going on, they're going to be
They can say, what the heck is that?
so somebody might step up to the plate. I will tell you all, I've told you before, I did have one meeting with one people on High Street that expressed an interest. They did it at the last time. And I went out and had a terrific meeting, but that property is not going to be for sale for the fire station. And we couldn't have used that property without obtaining 2 other homes along the way. And so thank you to that person. We had a good meeting, but okay. That ends those agenda items. In accordance with the public comment policy, I'm going to allow for public to have a question or a request for information. No discussion at this point. So is there anybody that has a question or a comment? Please in the room. Yes, sir. Sorry.
Hi, Dave Smith, 40 Lynn Terrace, First Baptist Church, facilities there. I'm on 2 committees basically to analyze what's going on here.
Did you give us your name and address? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, want me to do it again?
No, this is my fault.
Okay, so I would say the concerns from the people that I'm hearing is that, well, first off, if somebody sells their house, you're going to be tarred and feathered. That's the thought. Because you be considered a traitor. We're letting the other people down, allowing it to happen in that area. So that's kind of the thought process. And the thought also is that they're being placated, that it's like we're taking that into consideration, don't worry about it, and it's not real. So those are the concerns, and I would say the town has said the amount of money, the size of the unit, you're looking at half acre going into 11 acres, and it doesn't quite make sense. You have this massive area you're trying to take, when we had such a small footprint before. So they're hoping that the footprint of the building stays small and that it stays in the same place it is. That's for most of the people that I talk to, which is 3 schools, people who live around the where you call with the area that is landlocked. That is one of the larger groups. Look often there are a lot of people that say, do you seems to make the most logical sense, except for people. And so they're asking that two things be added to this study. One is how it's going to impact the value of the houses in that area. Environmental concerns are really high, especially for what the church is doing for the land behind it. And the other factor is where do most of the phone calls come from? There's probably two areas that the station goes to most often, and that where the calls are being generated from be part of the study. So those are things that these groups are asking.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
The first one is from Julianne Bride, 20 Whitney Ave. If we don't know the cost of construction, I think the idea of looking at the slope of the current site should be evaluated as part of the feasibility, especially if that process will consider site design. Not sure if this was looked at before, and the assistant chief has cost information we can review. Thanks.
Thank you.
The next one is Angela McCall, 26 Deerfield Ave, Westwood. I believe she would like to speak.
That would be great. Please let her in.
When you're ready, Angela. I see that there is also a worksheet online for fire station to complete that helps determine size of station. Do you have one completed?
I think if that's referring to the matrix, that's what we're talking about right now. And so we're editing the document, and once it is filled out by the committee, we'll go back online.
Thank you. Is Angela not coming on?
No.
I think she did write it out.
Shoot.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, she said know how to determine base at.
You're talking about programmatic, the programmatic
Program,
needs document.
Not sure.
The base size is determined by the size of the apparatus and the number of apparatus that the fire department needs to meet the requirements.
And the working size around each apparatus.
Yeah, I would say that the square footage analysis isn't really the purview of this group,
Right.
and that would come through feasibility and schematic design, which is the next phase.
Okay.
I do have to say, while we're waiting for any other residents to jump in, but I said this last meeting, and I just wondering, I think it's of the utmost importance we get the next town community meeting scheduled, especially where, we're not relying on people that's sort of hearing in town. I know people are looking for a voice, and we want to make sure we're hearing that voice and providing for it. I think in this setting's great. I love how residents are coming up with saying, hey, we have a small amount of time to ask questions at the end. Again, I think it's important to make every effort to make sure the community is heard. So I know we had to postpone Blizzard, fine, but I think we need to.
We agree, and I've been working with the town to find a time and when we can do that. So that's at the top of our list. It's just there's so much going on right now in the town that will happen hopefully within the next couple of weeks. And I said that before within the next couple of weeks, and now we're further on out. But I think definitely we have to do that, and I think we're going to have more than one. And we will be talking about that later on this afternoon.
More people can speak about it.
That's right, because we're hearing from very few people, unfortunately, and I've said it. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you for this. Any other business to come up before the committee? If not, our next meeting is next Monday, the 23rd. It's going to be busy. You have homework to do in the beginning. There were a couple of other requests I had for you. One, we want to do an FAQ, and I don't know, I haven't had a report how many people have sent it in. I know one other that I know definitely please, FAQ questions, put them together. You may be repeating, what other people would do. We don't care. Download as many as you can, and then we're going to put together an FAQ, which we're going to work on with any frequently asked questions that, right?
That'll be a live document on
I was
the.
gonna say,
It'll be a live document and all that, and then we'll be talking about that later. We have a communications subcommittee meeting later on. But please, everybody on the committee, please send them in this week. I told you in our next meeting, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
All right, do we do the minutes?
No minutes this time. We'll be
From the
doing it
last
next
meeting?
time. We'll have last week and this week. We have a very busy staff member right now.
Shit, she is.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All those, Jody Petroselli,
Yes.
Ken Ayers,
Yes.
Peter Bean,
Yes.
Sarah Cantling,
Yes.
John Cummings,
Yes.
Mary Davis.
Yes.
Paul Delay.
Yes.
Ford Spalding, I'm a yes. Thank you all for
Thank you.
coming. Thank you all.